I can't believe we're already in week 9 of the 2021 college football season, but here we are, and I think we've got a better slate of games this week than we had last week, at least on paper. Now, you never know how the games are going to turn out. Last week's slate of games really didn't look that good, but thanks to some poor performances, really, by some of the higher-ranked teams, we ended up having a few closer games maybe than we thought we would have. This week, we do have a better slate of games on paper, though. We got some ranked versus ranked matchups, got some undefeated versus undefeated Power 5 matchups, and we've got plenty of matchups that are going to go a long way towards determining some division and conference championships. In this video, I'm going to go over some of those games this week, and I'm going to give you a winner and a winner against the spread. Let's go. Hey, good morning. It's Uncle Lou here. Yeah, that's right. It's me, Uncle Lou. And guess what? I'm live for you on LouTube today, so thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Also, in addition to that as well, hey, subscribe to this channel if you're not already. Did you know I post college football videos almost every single day of the year? It's true. In fact, some of them are even watchable. I don't know about this one. You can let me know in the comments down below what you think about this video, and be sure to let me know which games it is you think I get wrong. All right, as usual, all the numbers I use in today's video are going to come from www.betnow.eu. I've been using betnow.eu for years. I'm comfortable with it. I'm familiar with it. The lines can vary. Spreads and odds can vary a little bit from site to site, but I always use BetNow just to stay consistent. I think the promo code is still working too. Uncle Lou, it's all one word, lowercase letters. If you want to sign up on betnow.eu and try to make yourself some money betting on these games, enter the promo code Uncle Lou and they'll give you a bonus on whatever you deposit. Good luck. All right, here we go. Starting out at noon and working up through the primetime games. First up, 12 o'clock on Fox. Michigan on the road at Michigan State. And let's just be honest, Michigan fans, Jim Harbaugh has been nothing short of absolute doo-doo in big games at Michigan for the most part, particularly on the road. In fact, Harbaugh is winless on the road against top 15 teams, and that's what he's facing this week on the road in East Lansing. Now, this is a rivalry game, an in-state rivalry game, a division game that's going to go a long way towards determining who wins the Big Ten East, and therefore a long way towards determining who wins the Big Ten. And both of these teams are still legitimate playoff contenders. You don't make it to week 9 undefeated without being a playoff contender. Who's going to come out on top in this one? Well, Michigan State's going to try to run the ball, and so is Michigan. This is going to be an old school type of Big Ten football game here. I don't expect a whole lot of points to be scored in this game. I don't expect a whole lot of passes to even be attempted in this game. Forget about your Ole Misses, your Big 12 teams, your Oklahomas, your Alabama, some of these throw it around teams where you see teams throwing for 300 and 400 yards. You throw that out the window in this game. I'd be surprised if we had 300 yards passing total in this game between the two teams. Michigan State, second-year head coach Mel Tucker, formerly of Georgia, DC at Georgia, then head coach at Colorado for just a very small amount of time before getting the job at Michigan State, and he's really turned them around. I mean, you can't help but be impressed with what you've seen from Michigan State this year, especially considering where they were a couple of years ago when they fired longtime head coach Mark D'Antonio. Mel Tucker has really turned this team around. They haven't been blowing out a lot of teams. They've had a lot of close wins. They're not the most exciting team in the world to watch, but they do have one of the most exciting players in all of college football, in my opinion, in Kenneth Walker. This guy is a lot of fun to watch. He is one of the best running backs in all of college football. He's on most people's Heisman watch lists. If you have a top 5, he's most likely on it. Michigan is going to play about the same style of football that Michigan State wants to play. They want to run the ball. They want to play good defense. They want to slow the game down. They want to keep it low scoring. This is going to be an interesting game. I think Michigan definitely has what it takes to win this game, and so does Michigan State. Michigan's actually a 4-point favorite, according to BetNow, and these numbers are accurate as of about 1 o'clock this afternoon. I'm recording this on Friday, the day before the game. This was a hard game for me to pick, and I went back and forth. It's no secret. I have kind of fallen off the Jim Harbaugh train over the last couple of years. I was very high on Michigan in 2017, 2018, and even to a lesser degree in 2019, and I just kept getting let down and disappointed and basically proven wrong every time I kept picking Michigan to do anything in the Big Ten East, the Big Ten, or make the playoffs or anything like that, and it kind of soured me on Michigan. I'm just going to be honest. However, if this game was being played in Michigan, I would probably pick Michigan to win, and I do think they have a chance to win. But this video isn't about picking a team that has a chance. I got to make a decision here. With this game being on the road at Michigan State, College game day will be there. It's going to be a wild atmosphere there. One of the biggest games Michigan State has hosted in a long, long time. I'm going to take the home team, Michigan State, and the 4 points. All right, sticking with the 12 o'clock games. Also in the Big Ten, this one, a Big Ten West showdown at 12 o'clock on ESPN. We have Iowa on the road at Wisconsin. Iowa and Wisconsin really are sort of in opposites this year, right? A lot of people were pretty high on Wisconsin heading into the year. It didn't work out early in the season. Wisconsin caught a couple of early losses. Iowa, at one point, was ranked, third? They might have even been second in America before taking a loss to, was it Purdue? How did that happen, Iowa? Anyway, Iowa still has a couple of pretty good wins. A win over Penn State. We'll see how they can finish out the season, but they got to travel this week to play Wisconsin, and the winner of this game is going to be in first place in the Big Ten West. Wisconsin does have 2 conference losses. I believe they got 3 losses total. Yeah, because they lost to Notre Dame. So Wisconsin's got 3 losses total, but only 2 are conference losses. If Wisconsin can find a way to knock Iowa off at home this weekend, they each would have 2 losses, which of course would give Wisconsin the head-to-head tiebreaker. So this is a huge game here. Wisconsin's a tough place to play. Wisconsin's won 2 or 3 games in a row since that early season skid, but not the quality of opponent of an Iowa. Iowa, on the other hand, has looked great defensively for the majority of the year. Their offense is not amazing. They're not going to light any scoreboards up, but then again, this is Wisconsin we're talking about here. You don't have to score 40 or 50 points to beat Wisconsin. The loss to Purdue is hard to understand for Iowa. Iowa has sort of lived by turnovers defensively this year. Didn't go their way in the Purdue game, and it sort of got away from them. I think this will be a good game. Like I said, it's a tough place to play on the road at Wisconsin. I'm just not buying back into Wisconsin. I know they've won 2 or 3 games in a row, but if you look at who they've beat, it's not really anybody that impressive. I still think their 3 losses are to the 3 best teams that they've played, and I think Iowa is better than some of those teams that have already beat Wisconsin. I'm going to take Iowa on the road here. I don't even want the 3 points. I think Iowa wins outright. Give me Iowa on the money line. All right, 12 o'clock on ABC. Texas on the road at Baylor. And Baylor is actually a 2.5-point home favorite. And you know what? I like Baylor in this one. Texas has really struggled, losing to Arkansas, blowing leads 2 weeks in a row to 2 of their biggest rivals, Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I just wonder if Texas really has the heart to finish out the season the way they started it. I mean, things just have not gone the way they wanted them to go. I'm still a big fan of Bijan Robinson, and I think Texas quarterback has played better than I thought he would play this year. Obviously, the defense has been a huge letdown in all 3 losses. They let it get away from them in the Arkansas game. We all know what happened against Oklahoma. Oklahoma had the huge second-half comeback when they switched quarterbacks and put Caleb Williams in. And then Texas did the same thing the following week to Oklahoma State. Had a pretty good lead, let it get away in the second half. Baylor's been a pretty consistently good team this year. They only have 1 loss, and it's to the same Oklahoma State team that just beat Texas. It's a home game for Baylor. I'm going to take the home team. Give me Baylor. Lay the 2.5. All right, 12 o'clock on the ACC Network. Miami on the road at Pitt. And according to betnow.eu, Pitt is a 9.5-point home favorite in this one. We got to give Miami a little bit of credit here. Things did not go well for Miami in the first half of the season. They lost some games they weren't expected to lose. They almost lost to App State, and then the injuries started, right? De'Aaron King can't catch a break. Another season-ending injury for him. Their freshman quarterback that everybody was excited to see, Garcia, he had to have foot surgery. He's gone. They're down to this Van Dyke kid. And all he's done the last few weeks is come out and play pretty well and put a whole bunch of points on the board. Pitt, on the other hand, just beat Clemson at home. And regardless of what we might think about Clemson this year and the fact that maybe they're not very good, it's still a big deal for these ACC teams when they play Clemson. It's still a big deal to beat Clemson. We have to remember Clemson's been on top of the world in the ACC for 5 or 6 years in a row. Most of these teams have not beat Clemson at all during that 5 or 6 year period, and the ones that have only beat them once or so. It's still a big deal for Pitt to beat Clemson, so they got to come back down from that high they were on last week from beating the Taters and face a Miami team that I think is playing a lot better than what most people thought they would be playing. If you'd asked me a couple of weeks ago, I would have said Miami's just going to throw the towel in. The season's down the drain. I've been pleasantly surprised with the product Miami's put on the field the last couple of weeks. That being said, it's going to be a tough game for Miami. A long way to travel. It's not going to be the type of weather that they're used to. And Pitt is probably the best team in the ACC. I know Wake Forest is undefeated, and Pitt has that still unexplainable loss to Western Michigan, which if Pitt somehow goes undefeated, 12-1, and wins the ACC title, they're going to be kicking themselves for that Western Michigan loss, because I'm telling you right now, Pitt has a 0% chance of making the playoffs. None. There's not a marquee win they can get on their schedule to erase that horrible loss to Western Michigan. But Pitt can still make a New Year's Six Bowl and win the ACC. We'll see if that's what happens. Wake Forest, of course, undefeated in the ACC so far, too. Miami on the road at Pitt. Pitt's a 9.5-point favorite. You know what? I'm going to take Miami in this game. I think Miami has found something offensively in the last couple of weeks. I know Pitt's got a pretty good defense, particularly a front four, front seven, and they got a great quarterback in Kenny Pickett. I do think Pitt will win this game, but I don't know if they can win it by 10 or more, which is what they'd have to do to cover this 9.5 spread. I'm actually going to take Miami on the road in the 9.5 points. I think Miami loses a close one. All right, 3:30 on CBS, Georgia versus Florida in Jacksonville, Florida, the annual world's largest outdoor cocktail party. And these are two teams going in totally different directions this season. If you look at Florida, they had a lot to replace this year, but still high expectations just like they have every year down in Gainesville, and things just have not gone well. It seems like forever ago that they were bragging about a 2-point loss to Bama, right, at home. Since then, they've lost to Kentucky and really got absolutely humiliated by LSU. And not that the score was necessarily humiliating. I think they lost by a touchdown. But they gave up over 300 yards rushing in that game to an LSU team that was dead last in the SEC in rushing. And Florida in that game, especially defensively, appeared to throw the towel in and give up. Georgia, on the other hand, has continued to dominate opponents week after week after week after week. Georgia really has not been tested outside of that week 1 game versus Clemson, and Georgia is only going to get better as the season goes along, starting this week in the cocktail party against Florida. Georgia has been without the majority of its wide receivers for the entire season. Big-name guys like George Pickens, Kyrus Jackson, Jermaine Burton, Marcus Rosemy, St. Jack, Arian Smith. A lot of these guys are starting to come back. We'll see Arian Smith finally this weekend. We'll see Jermaine Burton back out on the field. Kyrus Jackson, of course, will be playing. Marcus Rosemy, St. Jack, over on the defensive side of the ball, expected to maybe get Chris Smith back at the safety position, which would be a big deal. I think Dan Jackson has done okay back there as a replacement, but he's clearly not the player of a Chris Smith. So these are two teams really going in totally different directions here. Georgia is sort of mapping out its last half of the season, getting ready for a playoff run. Florida is basically in survival mode at this point. The quarterback situation is a complete mess. The fans cannot stand to even look at defensive coordinator Todd Grantham or quarterback Emory Jones for that matter. I have a feeling Anthony Richardson will probably start this game, but I'm not sure it matters. I still think Dan Mullen is going to rotate these two quarterbacks in and out of the game on some sort of set rotation. If you go back and watch some of Florida's previous games, it was basically 2 series for Emory Jones, 1 series for Anthony Richardson, 2 series for Emory Jones, 1 series for Anthony Richardson. Maybe they reverses that, gives 2 series to Anthony Richardson, 1 to Emory Jones. Who knows? But I do think both quarterbacks are going to play. Same probably true for Georgia here. JT Daniels is supposedly back and healthy and ready to go. You can't get any information out of Kirby Smart. He acts like everything's a nuclear secret. But most of what you hear is good news in terms of JT Daniels, and I do expect JT Daniels to play in this game. Will he start? I think he will start. My prediction is that JT Daniels will start for Georgia, and Stetson Bennett will play some, and that Anthony Richardson will start for Florida, and Emory Jones will play some. You're going to see 4 quarterbacks in this game. It doesn't matter who plays quarterback for Georgia in this game. Florida is just clearly not the team they were last year. According to BetNow, Georgia's a 14-point favorite in this game. I'd be absolutely shocked if Florida can keep this game within 14. It seems to me like Florida is kind of teetering on the edge. I don't think Dan Mullen's going to get fired this season, but what I'm seeing in terms of attitude from the team, the players, the sentiment of the fans and the media towards Dan Mullen and Todd Grantham and some of the decisions that they've made, it does remind me of Jim McElwain's last year down there, where there was the whole weird story about him claiming to have received death threats, but then being unable to provide the evidence or the proof, or unwilling to provide it. It was a weird kind of situation, and you just got the feeling like, I don't know, it just seems like McElwain doesn't want to be here. It's kind of starting to feel that way with Dan Mullen to me. I've never really thought he was 100% in on the college game. I mean, he's kind of said it. He doesn't like the direction college football is headed. He's not a big fan of the NIL rules. He's not a big fan of playoff expansions. He's not a big fan of the transfer portal. He doesn't like recruiting. I mean, these are just all facts. And will this be his last year in Gainesville? Well, I don't think he's going to get fired. I do think it's possible he walks away, takes a job in the NFL, or just decides to take a break. We'll see how the rest of the season goes for Florida. I'm going to take Georgia and lay to 14 in this game. Georgia's defense is just going to be way too much. Anthony Richardson doesn't have very much experience at all. I think most games he only attempts 4, 5, 6 passes. I think there's only been one game where he's attempted more than 10 passes all season. I'm not sure how good of an idea it is to give a guy his first real start in college football against this version of Georgia's defense, but it looks like we're going to find out. Looks like we're going to find out on Saturday. I think Georgia will win and cover to 14. Now, if this ends up being like a 2017 type of situation where Georgia goes down there and beats them 42-7, then I could see Florida losing another couple of games before this season is over, because if Georgia just goes down there and absolutely lays it to them, then I really think Florida's just going to roll over and die. I could see maybe one, maybe even 2 more potential losses on Florida's schedule if things don't go well for them in Jacksonville. Give me the Dogs, lay to 14. Florida State at Clemson, 3:30 on ESPN. Give me the Noles. I'm officially off the Clemson hype train. I think I was the last one on it. I just have zero faith in Clemson's ability offensively to even get first downs at this point. Never mind score points or, God forbid, score 20 or more. Clemson hasn't scored 20 or more points on an FBS team all year long. I don't know how they expect to do it this weekend against Florida State. Clemson's a 9.5-point home favorite. That's ridiculous. Bet now has them as a 9.5-point favorite. I'm going to take Seminoles in the 9.5 points. Florida State has been playing maybe the best football it's played in the last 3 years over the last 2 or 3 weeks of this current season. Now, I don't think Florida State's a top 20 team or a top 15 team or anything like that. That's not what I'm saying. I still think they're a couple of recruiting classes away from being a consistently good or great team, right? But if you watch them play over the last couple of weeks, it is not the same Florida State team that lost to Jacksonville State back in week 2 or whatever that was, right? Florida State, again, this kind of reminds me of the Georgia-Florida game. Georgia is a team right now that seems to be getting better as the season is going along. They're getting healthier. They're getting better. Florida seems to be going the opposite direction. The same is true in this game here. Clemson appears to just be getting worse and worse and worse, more and more injuries every week. Now they got quarterback questions. They benched the ukulele last week and put the Pumachan in. Florida State, on the other hand, started out in the toilet. Now they're peeking out over the lid of the bowl. So who knows? I mean, I don't know. Could Florida State and Clemson be getting ready to trade places in the ACC over the next 4 to 5 years? I don't know about that. But I do think Florida State can keep this game closer than 9.5 and potentially win this game. Give me the Seminoles in the 9.5 points. Ole Miss at Auburn. I'm excited to watch this game Saturday night, 7 o'clock on ESPN. Auburn's actually a 3-point home favorite. I was a little bit surprised by that. I thought Ole Miss may be a slight favorite on the road at Auburn. Ole Miss has struggled on the road a couple of times this season, though. Of course, you look at the Alabama game, they were down 35-0. Final score 42-21. Then you have the Tennessee game from a couple of weeks ago, and let's just be real. Has Tennessee surprised a few people offensively this year? Yes. Is Tennessee a great team? No. And Ole Miss could have, and the argument can be made, should have lost that game on the road at Rocky Flop. So Ole Miss has not played particularly well on the road this year, so Auburn is a 3-point home favorite. This game is going to rest in the arms and legs of Bo Nix, in my opinion. I don't think Auburn is a great team. It's hard for me to see a way Ole Miss, other than the fact that Ole Miss has been struggling on the road. I don't know what you look at Auburn and go, yeah, I trust Auburn to go out there and beat Matt Corral. Maybe Bo Nix has one of those amazing games. He does tend to have one every once in a while, never against Georgia. But he does tend to have one every once in a while. Is this going to be the game this year? He has it. Weird things happen for Auburn at home sometimes. Is this going to be the game those things happen? Or is Auburn saving up all that magic and all that luck for the last week of the regular season when they host Alabama in the Iron Bowl? I don't know. I'm not going to bet a dime on this game. I could see this game going a couple of different ways. Auburn at home. Ole Miss hasn't played well on the road. Auburn, one of the tougher environments in the SEC. It's a night game. The crowd will be juiced up. And again, kind of like the Iowa-Wisconsin game, both of these teams are still alive in the SEC West, right? Auburn has 2 conference losses to Georgia. And who's the other? Somebody help me out. Who's the other conference loss? Doesn't matter. And Ole Miss has 1 conference loss. The winner of this game is still alive in the SEC West. Now, Auburn would then, of course, have to beat Alabama in the Iron Bowl. Easier said than done, but we'll see. So anyway, both of these teams still have a lot to play for. Ole Miss hasn't looked good on the road. Those are the reasons I'm taking the barn here and laying the 3 points. All right, also at 7 o'clock, but this one over on the SEC Network, we've got Kentucky on the road at Mississippi State. And Mississippi State is actually a 1-point favorite in this game. What is it that people know that I don't know? I happen to think Kentucky's a pretty good team, especially defensively. They like to control the game on the ground. Mississippi State, of course, wants to throw the ball 60 or 70 times. Not sure you can find 2 different offenses within the SEC than Kentucky and Mississippi State. But I just don't think Mississippi State's a very good team. I don't. I know they want to come out and sling the ball around. I know Mike Leach is interesting and, some of the stuff he says after the game and talking about Halloween candy last week and all that kind of stuff. I just think Kentucky's a better team. I think Kentucky's got better lines of scrimmages on both sides of the ball. I think Kentucky's got better running backs. I think Kentucky's got better linebackers. Maybe Mississippi State has a better passing game. But I think Kentucky has the best wide receiver in this game in Wan'Dale Robinson, and I think Kentucky's going to find a lot of ways to get him involved in this game. I don't think Mississippi State can win this game at home or on the moon. I'm not sure that it matters. Give me Kentucky on the money line. All right, in the ABC primetime game of the week, and a big one, 7:30 ABC, Penn State on the road at Ohio State. And this line surprises me a little bit. Ohio State's a 19.5-point favorite. Now, I know it's been disappointing. They had a big lead on Iowa on the road in the second half. Starting quarterback Sean Clifford goes down. Iowa comes back and wins the game. Penn State then turns around and has a just unexplainable loss the following week where they played Sean Clifford, not the following week, it was 2 weeks later after a bye week, where they played Sean Clifford, and it looked like he really wasn't ready to play. And it seems to me if you had a bye week and there was any doubt about Sean Clifford, you should have made the decision early on, okay, let's sit Sean Clifford, get the backup prepared, get through this week, and then we'll have Sean Clifford at 100% for the following week, which is now the Ohio State week. That's not what they did, and they ended up losing. The offense looked really bad. Sean Clifford did not look like himself in that game. Now, according to James Franklin and Penn State, Sean Clifford's at 100% this week. I'm not sure that I believe that. Let me just say this off the right here now. There's no way Penn State's winning this game. I haven't seen anything from Penn State all year that makes me think they can beat the team Ohio State has been putting on the field the last few weeks, especially offensively. Now, with Ohio State, their offense has played much better the last 3 or 4 weeks than it played the first 3 or 4 weeks, no doubt about it. A loss is a loss. They lost at home to Oregon. There's no do-overs. There's no getting that back. And if you look at Ohio State's schedule and the teams that they have played, it's not very impressive. The scores are impressive, but Ohio State really has only been tested, in my opinion, twice this season. Week 1 on the road at Minnesota, where they sort of came on late and won by 14, and week 2 at home against Oregon, where they lost. They've only played one ranked team, and they lost. That was Oregon. Again, I do realize that Ohio State is playing much better, especially offensively right now than they were playing back in week 2. I just don't know if Ohio State can win this game by 19.5. If Sean Clifford is 100%, then I would feel very comfortable taking Penn State and the 19.5. I do think Ohio State will win, probably by a couple of touchdowns. Hard to imagine Penn State finding a way to win this game, though. But maybe they can keep it closer than the spread. I think a lot of that is going to depend on Sean Clifford. I guess I'm going to take James Franklin's word for it. Give me Penn State and the 19.5. There you go. The best games of the week in week 9 of the 2021 college football season. Again, let me know down below which games it is you think I got wrong, and check out betnow.eu if you want to try to make yourself some money on these games. All right. Appreciate you watching. Have a good morning.